Uh, this is our final project presentation for the 2020 presidential elections prediction on the states of Alabama, California, Connecticut, and Wyoming. Our final project team members are Ankit Bansal, uh, Ajay Kata, and Toba Ojabere, and myself, Alejandro Covarrubias. So for our project summary, the purpose of the project was to predict the outcome of the elections on 2020 on the states of Alabama, California, Connecticut, and Wyoming. And what we did, we collected data throughout the semester, and using that data, we tried to analyze and find the best fit model in order to predict the presidential elections for 2020. And I should mention that we explore using R and we explore using SAS. Going to start with the work that we did for the state of Alabama. We should mention that for Alabama we have 9 electoral votes. At the present on Alabama, we found that there's a higher percentage of population in the age of 18 to 24. And in recent years, this group has been maintaining a higher growth rate. However, we also have population in the age of more than 65, which this will make certain issues such as healthcare an important factor. Of course, also job economy is a major issue that could affect the voter turnout in Alabama, and the GDP can be considered an overall indicator of economy health development. So analyzing that data, we found that the major issues impacting voter turnout in Alabama were making college more affordable, job economy, national security, healthcare, and terrorism. So we use that data to predict the presidential election in Alabama, and we should mention that Alabama has historically been always a Republican state, and in order to choose the model that will be a best fit in order to predict, we should take into account any variability in the margin of win and any fluctuations in voter outcome. So using that as a starting point, we choose to use Monte Carlo simulation to build a distribution to pull the random samples. In this case, we have chosen to use SAS in order to do the Monte Carlo simulation. And the outcome of our Monte Carlo simulation is shown here. You can see on the x-axis it denotes the difference in votes between Republicans and Democrats, and the positive numbers shown that the Republicans will win in 2020 for the state of Alabama. Then for the state of California, we should mention that in California we have 55 electoral votes, and in California has been consistently been a Democrat state, something that is a big issue for California or for voter turnout is jobs and economy, and foreign policy takes a huge factor in the voter turnout. So as previously mentioned, jobs and economy is a huge factor in California. Number 2 is education and public schools, and number 3 is healthcare and foreign policy. And we can see here some of the outcomes for the data that we analyze. For example, the race distribution for California, the majority is white alone, and you can see the age distribution is quite variable here. We have 30 to 44 years in about 25%, and all of the other years distributed around 20 to 30%. And in order to predict the 2020 US presidential election in California, uh, as I previously said, California has been a strong Democrat state, and the motivation to use Monte Carlo distribution was similar to the state of Alabama, uh, since we had to do or take into account any variability in the margin of win. We have chosen to use Monte Carlo, and in this case we use R. And from the R simulation, we have generated this histogram and this pie chart. As you can see, it's not that detailed as the SAS simulation, but in any way, it provides a clear outcome on how the Democrat Party will win in the state of California. For the state of Connecticut, we should mention that it has 7 electoral votes. Connecticut has gone through periods in the past where primarily it voted Republican. However, in the last 6 elections, it has been consistently Democrat. For major issues impacting voter turnout in Connecticut, we should mention that national security and terrorism, income inequality, gun policies, criminal justice, climate change and foreign affairs and social issues were examined. And then again, Monte Carlo simulation was chosen to build the distribution to pull the random samples, and SAS was used to find the best fit model. And as you can see here, we run the simulation in SAS, and we have found that there's 95% confident interval of Democrat winning average and 95% confident interval of diff between Democrat and Republican. And as a summary for the state of Wyoming, we should mention that it has only 3 electoral votes. When it comes to presidential elections in Wyoming, we have always favored Republicans, at least from 2000 to 2016. Republicans have been getting more than 65 of the votes. And the major issues impacting voter turnout in Wyoming are gun control, economy, immigration, healthcare system, and retirement security for seniors. The motivation again for choosing the model, we took into account any variability in the margin of win and any fluctuations in the voter outcome. Monte Carlo simulation was chosen. We used SAS again to find the best fit model, and in the overall outcome of the predictions, Monte Carlo simulation predicted that the Republican will win the 2020 presidential elections. As you can see here, we generated this pie chart, which has on the distribution to win mostly Republican. And as a summary of the results, we can see that in Alabama, Republican Party will win the 2020 presidential elections. In California, Democrat will win. In Connecticut, Democrat will win. And in Wyoming, Republican will win. And as a summary of why we have chosen only in one case to use R and on 3 cases to use SAS. So in R, you definitely have to code in order to do all the simulations. And SAS Studio is a lot more user intuitive in the fact that it provides an interface or easy use cases in order to generate different simulations. So that's I guess the main difference between the 2 tools.